Thanks so much for all of that amazing introduction. I always find myself going, wow, she sounds cool. Who is that person? Awesome. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, everybody. And I understand that our most valuable resource is our time. So I want to let you know right now that if you're taking time with me to listen to me and be here with me today, I appreciate that. And I'm very grateful for that because we don't get this time back. So let's make it super valuable. One, by showing up, being present. You might have me in your ear while you're driving, whatever it is, but really tune in because knowledge in the head does not equate mastery in the being. And what I mean by that is we have a tendency to, to consume and input so much knowledge thinking, and you'd think with my bio that why am I even saying this? But putting all that knowledge in our head does not translate into action. Epiphanies don't create change. Epiphanies do not create change. And most of us will have it. We'll listen and watch things and go, wow, that's awesome. And then get motivated and don't take any action. So I'm going to encourage everybody when you listen to any speakers, when you consume any information, that you at least come away with one thing that you put down on your calendar or something and taken the action with it, because that's the way to, first of all, change your brain, change your habits, change anything that you're doing requires action in the direction you want to go. So that's my prompt for everybody you're going to be listening to anywhere, anytime, any book you're reading. All right, Tanja Diamond here. You already know that. I'm going to tell you a little bit of background about me, but quite frankly, you probably don't really care that much. We'll get to the other good stuff in just a moment, but giving you how I came to be this way. I'm autistic, and I'm also a polymath. And what is that? You're going to look it up and think I know math. No, that's not my skill set. A polymath is simply somebody who has expertise in a wide range of subjects. And I've been gifted because of action to not have to work more than full-time since I was 30. I've only worked part-time. So I've been able to pursue a lot of different things. And I am a nerd. Check it. Blue blocker, click glasses. Doesn't get nerdier than that. I'm going to, so my daughter tells me. So autistic creates trauma. Being smart enough, there's a thing called 2E, twice exceptional. I call it twice screwed. It means that basically I'm smart, and I'm smart enough to know I'm messed up, but smart enough to know that most people that are trying to help me aren't smart enough to help me. What is all that about? Okay. So I went through life traumatized by a series of events, well-meaning people that just didn't really understand things. For instance, at 4 and 5, I was at home reading adult Encyclopedia Britannicas, just for fun. I like to read medical articles for fun too. I told you I'm a nerd, right? And so I'm reading at home, but I snapshot read. I don't read words individually. I read pages. And so when I went to school, they're trying to be helpful, and they're saying, here's an A, here's a B. They're teaching me an alphabet. I have no idea. What are these people talking about? What are these things? And so everybody thought I was developmentally delayed. So the teachers were assuming that. I don't know what my parents were doing. I don't know why my parents weren't involved in any of this to say, no, indeed, she actually is reading. So see, Dick, run, Jane, whatever, all of the things that we're supposed to do in those early years left me confounded, confused, and trying to figure out what's going on. So that's how a lot of us feel, misunderstood 100%, and misunderstood as well as seeing the world completely differently, which I didn't know for a long time than other people, definitely left me also depressed, anxious, depressed. By the time I was in 7th grade, a teacher saw me do something. And so she thought to actually question. The other thing is we moved all the time. Africa, South America, every 6 months or a year, I was in a different school. So nobody ever had time, a teacher or anybody, to really get to know me, to see beyond what they were seeing. And so she asked me a bunch of questions. I went off on my, because I love to disseminate information, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, wow, okay, clearly. So then they skipped me 3 grades. That was a nightmare too, just saying. So, okay. As I got older and realized that I was processing information differently, I was not this articulate, let me tell you. It was just a flood stream of free flow thought, nonstop. People were over me pretty fast. So difficult to make friends. I say inappropriately awkward things. I don't like to be in other people's spaces because I don't know what the rules are, and there are always rules. You get it. You get the picture. And then there was also trauma, sexual trauma, and other types of trauma growing up. Okay. In my 20s, I was like, I need help. I need help. And I couldn't find help. There was talk therapy. There were some other things, and none of those were working. I could talk about it, but it didn't feel like talking about it really helped. So I decided I had to figure this out. I'd also had at that point, a lot of ancient spiritual training. I have a Tantra lineage, which is a energy mastery lineage, not about the sex we all think Tantra means, but it's actually an ancient technology of energy mastery. So that taught me a lot. And then I wanted to be a I wanted to be a brain surgeon. And so a lot of medical things really interested me too. It's like I said, I used to binge read medical abstracts, and I still do. So combining that ancient wisdom and this modern brain science started me on a path to try to understand, how do we really change? Because I didn't believe that my autism, at some point it was OCD, autism, ADHD, if you name it, I probably got labeled it, right? And yet I realized evolution designed us to change, right? Yeah, mostly over long-term, catastrophic events, right? But if evolution designed us to change, and this was before neuroplasticity was even like talked about, because I'm 63, we're talking 45 years ago, right? I had to go read in the libraries. There was no Google. So if we were created to change, and if all things evolved, then that meant that obviously we could. So what's the mechanism? What do we do? So I started reading, I started experimenting. We found the 21-day habit thing, which, by the way, is not true, because if it was only 21 days to change a habit, we'd all be fine, because any of us could muscle through 21 days. That experiment was actually done with guys in a lab 24/7 who had upside down goggles on 24/7. And at the end of 21 days, their brain made the adjustment so that they could see differently. None of us are doing something 24/7 to change our brain structures and our pathways. And since your brain was developed to automate everything, it actually doesn't want to change. So if you think change is hard, it's not because you have something wrong with you. Literally, change is hard. So we're created to automate everything. The berry over there is red, that's poison. That smell you smell is a bear cave, don't go near it. Some pretty basic stuff if you think about how we were living our lives for thousands and thousands, perhaps millions of years, right? Automate the brain, tells you the things you need to know. Our brain structures have not evolved as fast as our lives, technology, and everything else that's happening. So we get a lot of info now and a lot of stuck places now that basically keep us stuck and very hard to change. But then I realized there has to be a way. If we get stuck in trauma, if we get stuck in beliefs, if we get stuck in thoughts, then there's ways that we got stuck. So I kind of reversed engineered that. What does that look like? All right. So it's a pretty simple process if I break it down this way. And I just realized, JB, you're going to have to give me some heads up at time. I didn't even look at the time when I jumped on. So give me some 5-minute countdown, please. Because otherwise, yeah, all right. So let's say you decided to become a 6 a.m. go to the gym person, right? Now, you start off with enthusiasm. First morning, well, maybe not. Okay, not enthusiasm. Got it. You start off and you're like, get up. You willpower. And we all know, or willpower has a finite time frame. You know this because you run out of willpower, especially the more decisions you make, the less willpower you have by the end of the day. Your best willpower is morning. So if anything's really important, you always want to get it done in the morning. So you start off, in a few days, things go well. This is going great. You're getting up. You're feeling like, woo, maybe I got this. And then one morning, you wake up and you have a cold. Here's where it gets tricky. When you were young, when you had a cold, your parents, your family, whoever told you, you have to rest. It's important for you to get sleep. You should rest when you have a cold. If you were raised that way, that's a program. You don't realize that. But it's a program. Your brain goes, sick, rest, no gym. You get thrown off track. What you don't realize is that your brain and body actually created that cold to sabotage you. A neural pathway in your brain, a pathway to an automation, is really structured and deep and purposeful. Your brain puts it there for survival. It doesn't have any judgment. Your subconscious mind is not judging whether or not getting up to the gym or not going to the gym is important. It only knows what survival means to it. And in your file cabinet, stay in bed, rest when you're sick is survival. So it takes a really big amount of energy in your brain to change a neural pathway to become a 6 a.m. in the morning person when you hate mornings. That is like, hating mornings is a pathway that your brain thinks it's keeping you alive. It's not true, but that's what you believe. We're actually all morning people, by the way. If you really understand circadian rhythms and we're not nocturnal, you'll understand that. But talk about that at a different time. So your brain literally created a cold so that you wouldn't change that neural pathway. That's what happens. So every time you want to make a change, when I'm helping people make big changes, or more importantly, train their brain so it stops fighting you when you want to change. That's what I do behind the scenes. It's important to understand you're going to run into your brain's sabotaging mechanisms. It's just a lot more energy to make the change. So let's say you know how to train your brain. What happens then is that that's coming. And when you get that sniffles in the morning, you just go, yep, I'm getting up and I'm going to the gym. Now, it'll ramp it up. There's things that are incredibly impressive. What your brain can do and what your body can do is astounding. And if you've ever probably not dove into there's a new word for it now, but easily different personalities can actually change. If somebody has that, they can actually change from diabetic to non-diabetic in the same body. So I'm telling you, your brain is amazing and your body's amazing. So you have to actually resist that urge. You have to go through. So how long does it take? Let's say you're sick and you just fight it and you go to the gym anyway. Will your brain be fine the next day? No. It's going to take a while the first time you try to be up against this. It's going to challenge you a lot. You may get sick, then you may get sicker. Then weirdly enough, you're going to stub your toe or do something that looks like an accident. It's so interesting. So at some point though, your brain goes, okay, all right, we are 6 a.m. get up, go to the gym people now. And it takes the effort to create a branch off of the superhighway to we get up at 6 a.m. now. And then the more you do it, the more you erode. It's like a, off ramp off the freeway. You're always going to Houston or wherever, but now you have exited. And then you keep catching that and you exit sooner and you exit sooner. Pretty soon, you're a 6 a.m. get up in the gym morning person. Love to tell you that happens quickly. It doesn't. But if you use the right tools and you learn to train your brain, this is what else can happen. December 2022, I decided to go 100% carnivore. Now, I'd been a vegetarian hardcore before that, all for my health, but my health was declining on a perfect diet. So, of course, anytime I'm up against a challenge, I've cured 4 incurable illnesses so far. I was like, okay, this means this is not working. I don't care if they're saying it's the healthiest way I can do, this is not working. So I did some research and ran into a bunch of people doing the 100% carnivore diet. And then on December 19th, I decided I was going 100% carnivore. And so when I say to my brain, I'm doing this, These days, my brain knows it's more effort to not change because it's learned that when I say a phrase, I am going to do this, my brain is like, okay, this is going to take way more energy to fight her than it is just going to lay that down. So December 18th, I was 100% vegetarian. December 19th, I was 100% carnivore. There you go. Give up sugar, no problem. Get up at a certain time, no problem. Do that. It doesn't take willpower anymore once that neural pathway is built in. Then it's who you are. So who we are, how we roll, introvert, extrovert, all of these things, every single thing is changeable. That's pretty incredibly cool. All right. So how many years later? So it took me 10 years to test out these practices, proprietary practices that I teach people to create these changes. They are somatic body practices as well as mental practices, because we have this thing called our 5 innate systems. And innate is INNATE, not 8. 5 innate systems. These are things we all have. When we're created via energy. Energy creates an agreement, when the sperm meets the egg, to transform energy into matter, right? Energetics. Next thing that happens is chemical, cell division, other things like that. So chemistry and all that creates emotion or sensations in the body, right? Feelings. Physical body doesn't fully develop till you're 18, and mentally you don't fully develop till you're 25. But these 5 innate systems inhabit all of us. This is how we're created. We unfold that way, and we can change using those 5 innate systems as well. Most of us go to heal mentally, right? Talk therapy, different things. Talk therapy is great. You learn how to speak things that you haven't spoke. It's not going to change the cellular memory or the things that are inhabiting in your somatic body. Most people have a toxic relationship between their head and their bodies. So you know that, right? The narcissistic head telling your body, say, I got to pee. And you're like, you can't pee. You're talking to somebody. It's all those things we tell our body that aren't very kind when we don't listen to it. So eventually we gain a lack of self-trust. So using these nature against nature, so to speak, is how we can learn how to get out of the patterns, habits, problems, illnesses. Dare I say, I know people are like, I'm glad I'm not on TEDx talk on a stage, because TEDx talk will never let me talk about curing the incurable. Just saying. But I can say that it's possible. All right. So what are some practices? I know it's going to end with saying, so in it being autistic and all these quote unquote labels should actually not allow me to be here today. Now, I did have a little challenge behind the scenes. You're going to notice everybody had a different background than I do. Virtual backgrounds, because I don't spend time in them, freak me out at first. Now, yay, thank you guys for letting me not have that, because it's a little bit easier. And I would have had to, I'm going to get cut off. And I would have had to taken a minute, probably more than a minute, probably would have taken me 15 or 20 minutes of watching the blur go by for me to repattern that I was okay with that. It would have been distracting. So I really appreciate that I was allowed to, and JB just showed you what the other background looks like, not do that. So it doesn't mean that I'm not autistic anymore. It doesn't mean that there aren't things in my brain that wired and work differently. But I will tell you that I used to be way non-functioning, very, very non-functional in so many ways. And that isn't the case anymore. So even my autistic traits, even my whatever, anxiety, I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression anymore. OCD, no. So most of those things are gone. My brain still processes information at lightning speed. Is actually changing my neural pathways, ramped up the good parts of what I'm all about while changing and decreasing the others. Learning to manage your chemistry means that you can manage anything changing state. So this stuff's all real. It's not voodoo, it's science. It's a mixture of old ancient energy practices and modern brain science. Like I said, took 10 years to figure it out, took another few years of testing it on other people. I'd been my own guinea pig. And all of these things actually work. So the good news is change is possible. The better news is change is possible to become even easier if you get your evolutionary design on track. How do you start? Basically, it starts with the most unsexy, boring thing you probably will ever hear that you've heard a million times, but you're probably not doing. It starts with learning to breathe and becoming self-aware. Self-awareness, you think you're self-aware? I guarantee you, you're probably not. But here's a quick vagus nerve breath. The vagus nerve is the biggest nerve, runs all through your body, and it's hypersensitive to social engagement. It's hypersensitive to your neural pathways. It's kind of like the master nerve that if you master it, you're going to be better off. Most people's vagus nerve is stuck in fight or flight mode. So even if you don't think you're anxious, when you start doing this, you'll probably find out you were really anxious. A short 2 inhale, gentle, not short, 1, 2, and then exhale through pursed lips as long as you can. Usually, hopefully, a count of 8. As you're exhaling, feel the deflating of your body. Feel like you're a balloon that's deflating. So 1, 2. Maybe you can only exhale 4. That's okay. Start wherever you are. Try to do this in no tension, not breathe through into your belly and out through pursed, relaxed lips. That vagus nerve breath, do it 5 minutes, 7 days a week. Why 7 days a week? Because we're training your brain to go and look for this as a tool. And if you say it out loud, vagus nerve breath, as you set your timer and do it 5 minutes, 7 days a week. I guarantee you're going to go, I can do 5 minutes, 7 days a week. And then you'll find yourself doing it 6. Why? Brain sabotage. Your brain is like, dude, this is going to change things. This is changing things. I don't know if this is safe. Danger, danger, danger. So yeah, you'll flake it out because you had a guest over. You'll flake it out because you slept in. It's 5 minutes. That one single practice, 5 minutes a day, 7 days a week, don't stop. Like years, don't stop, will allow your body to understand that it has a mechanism and it can go grab that tool. You'll actually start doing it automatically when your stress level rises, but it works. Not, does it work? It always works. It works no matter what, except if you're a sociopath. If you're a sociopath, you would not be on this call. I know. Isn't that funny, Jamie? I've tested that. All right. Are we done? Are we out? How are we doing? All right, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for being here 7 days a week. Do it, do it, do it.